A woman who has been an outspoken critic of radical Islam, Ayaan Hirsi Ali, was invited to speak at Yale yesterday. And my next guest is the one whose group issued that invitation. He says the Muslim Student Association tried to get her canceled. They were not successful. And here is some of what Ms. Ali said.
I want to end my presentation tonight with a few questions for the Muslim students of Yale and hopefully in this age of technology beyond. I want to ask you, why do you find energy, resources, time and solidarity to silence the reformers and dissidents of Islam? Why don't you devote all that energy to exposing and expelling the preaching teacher who has infiltrated your homes, your streets, your neighborhoods, your mosques, your schools and Muslim centers? Muslim Students Association of Yale, you live in a time when Muslims are at a crossroad. Every single day there is a headline that forces the Muslim individual to choose between his conscience and his creed. The Muslim world is on fire, and those fanning the fire are using your core creed. With every atrocity they commit, they remind the Muslim of his commitment to submit to Allah. Will you submit passively or actively, or will you finally stand up to Allah? Thank you.
Rich Lizardo is a senior at Yale University and president of the William F. Buckley Jr. program. Rich, good to see you. So you invited her, and now the Muslim Student Association is saying, we never demanded that she be canceled, we just wanted an additional speaker.
Right, so they never formally asked for a cancellation. This was only in a personal meeting that one of the student representatives had with me. But,
and she said what? That she wanted to happen?
So she issued her concerns, and she said that she would be very hurt and her community would be very hurt, and she asked me if I would reconsider having Ms. Hirsi Ali come and speak with us.
So they did want her gone initially. You said no. Then they said, look, we just wanted an additional speaker because that's free speech. If you don't like speech, the answer is more speech, not less.
Correct, correct. So
why didn't you do that?
Well, you know, we thought that that's not actually expanding free speech. They could have their own event if they would like to, but we weren't going to do something so disrespectful to Ms. Hirsi Ali as to change the format of the event.
They wanted someone, in their view, who would correct the record on Islam.
Exactly.
And?
Well, it was not only that, it was someone, they thought that she didn't have the credentials, that her life experiences don't make her qualified to speak on Islam.
This is a woman who was subjected to genital mutilation. She has all of the badges of the worst parts of Islam. But she's been a fierce critic of Islam. And by the way, a death sentence, multiple, have been issued against her. Somebody she made a film with got murdered, and a fatwa was issued against her. She walks around with security. She's an endangered person because of her outspokenness. And yet, repeatedly, some in the Islamic community want to silence her voice. What happened last night?
Well, last night was a fantastic lecture. It was a packed event. Over 300 people came up and showed up, and we had to turn away over 100 people because we just didn't have room to seat them.
Did they cheer her? Did they boo her?
She got 3 standing ovations.
Wow.
Surprisingly.
Wow. Rich, thank you for telling your story.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Also joining us tonight, Harris Zafar, national spokesperson for Ahmadiyya Muslim Community USA and author of Demystifying Islam, Tackling the Tough Questions. Good to see you again tonight. So,
good to see you. Thank you.
Your thoughts on what Ayaan's message was, that the Muslim world is on fire and those fanning it are using your core creed to do so. Will you stand up against their demand that you submit to Allah?
Well, first, Megan, I want to begin by setting the record straight. I actually agree with Rich, your guest, that about the absolute necessity to protect freedom of speech. I defend her right to speak and don't support any calls for her event to be canceled because my faith compels me to have that belief. That's why an entire chapter of my book is dedicated to a detailed analysis of freedom of speech.
And you know, this is the same group that got her canceled at Brandeis. I mean, they're after her. They don't like her out there offering her views.
Now, of course, although I do find it surprising that a student group at a prestigious institution like Yale would would bring a speaker who has on record called for the military conquest and defeat of Muslims. But what's more troubling for me
so now it's Yale's fault. It's Rich's fault. He's still here.
No. Well, obviously, you know that's not what I said. I said it's surprising that they would call for someone to speak who has called for the military conquest of Muslims. But what's for me more troubling, this goes to your first question, is that she speaks about and espouses a dangerous interpretation of Islam that not only runs contrary to the documented teachings of Islam, but actually supports and validates the terrorists and the radicals. So instead of supporting a barbaric perversion of Islam by saying that is Islam, we invite her.
That's your view.
Which is why I said that I defend her right.
But listen, Harris, does she not get to opine and say what she thinks about Islam, or about radical Islam, about Islam, having undergone what she did?
Well, Megan, I guess I have to say it a third time, that I do defend her right to hold those views and to speak on her views.
Right, but then you criticize the university for inviting her. So she can speak all she wants as long as there's no forum for it.
Instead of espousing a barbaric perversion of Islam, we invite her to speak about and understand the largest single Muslim community worldwide, who is in 206 countries in the world, has built 15,000 mosques around the world, and we're united by one Khalifa of Islam. And look at what we do. It's this message of peace, of tolerance,
as long as she says the words we like. That is what you are saying. Let me just pause you, because I still have Rich here. So he's critical of you for inviting her in the first place. Why'd you do that?
Why did we invite her? Well, we thought that it was very unfair for Brandeis to disinvite her, that it was disrespectful, and that her views totally mirrored an academic setting. So,
Harris, I want to pause you because I want to look. We've had a lot, obviously, in the news about the radical Islamists. I'm not saying the Muslims, the radical Islamists. And today,
that's what distinguishes you from Ayaan Hirsi Ali. That's the only distinction.
That's fine.
Again, I protect her right to speak. I'm glad Rich invited her to speak.
I am defending her right to offer her views as someone who
underwent
and I'm
so glad Rich invited her.
No, you're not. You're being sarcastic. That woman has a right to offer her opinion. When you undergo genital mutilation, you may have a thing or two to say about it.
Megan, you have to listen to me. I'm not lying. I'm glad he invited her.
You are saying you're glad that they invited her. Then, by the way, you just said you weren't glad, and you were surprised that a university like Yale would issue that invitation. That's what you said. And then you said that she shouldn't be given the forum. Yes, you did.
The bottom line for us is, as Muslims who are seeking to reform Muslims, we agree absolutely, especially on near everything of our closing statement, on the need for reforming the Muslim actions around the world. When she talks about FGM, when she talks about the oppression of women, when she talks about Sharia and jihad, we're right there. Not just lately, for 125 years, the Ahmadi Muslim community, under the leadership of our spiritual leader, have been doing that. So that's what I'm saying is that if we can't just, the only thing I take exception with her is not her views. I mean, she's gone through some traumatic experiences. The only thing I take exception is when she says that is Islam. And say, well, that is those Muslims, and we're fighting those Muslims. We've condemned ISIS and Boko Haram, and we asked her to join us in our fight.
Now it's my turn. I got it. But just as you have been given a forum here on the Kelly File to say what you want to say, Ayaan Hirsi Ali deserves to say what she thinks and speak about her own experiences without having you say it was inappropriate for them to give her a forum, and without the Muslim Student Association repeatedly trying to silence her
we will
voice.
Never try to silence anyone. We want to respond to speech with our speech.
Good to see you. Rich, thanks to you as well.